I'm switching gears here. We are talking about the Seahawks, though. You guys remember there was quite a hubbub created about it when one Mike Salk said, hey, the Chiefs just won a Super Bowl with not a lot of money invested in wide receiver. The Seahawks have quite a bit of money invested in wide receiver. What if the Seahawks trade DK Metcalf? And everyone lost their minds, okay? It's just a classic offseason conversation. We're going to have another one, and it's not about DK Metcalf. Instead, this was brought up, you, me, and G. Scott in the kitchenette this morning. We're having a conversation about the Seahawks. It was a really fun conversation, all hypotheticals. And we were talking about the way that the league is developing. And G, and I don't think he'd mind me saying this, G was saying, you know what I'm wondering? What if with the way that offenses are evolving, we'll soon see corner become just as valuable as edge rushers? And, what if, there are ever guys you're looking at where that trade value suddenly becomes so much higher? And then we all wondered, well, would someone like Riq Woolen ever be a trade chip for Seattle, despite all of us thinking he's a perfectly fine person and teammate? And you weren't for it,
No.
but we were all wondering what that would look like whether Seattle would ever do that. The argument for trading Riq Woolen, just in general, just a general argument, would be, what if it was just a flash in the pan? What if that season he had was the best season he'll ever have? And what if he won't be better than that? You think that you can see where some people might think that, but you don't agree.
Yeah, no, I think I don't think it's far-fetched. I think unless you are the 1%ers on that team, right, the guys who are untouchable. And at this point with the Seahawks, I don't think anyone's untouchable, but there are some guys who you feel like are going to be here. You got to look at every situation. So that's why it was an interesting conversation. Now, I don't think they're looking at Riq and saying, all right, maybe we can trade him. And maybe that first year, that rookie year with 6 interceptions in the Pro Bowl situation was luck, because my man hasn't played the position very long, maybe 3 seasons now as a pro. 2 as a pro, 1 as a college athlete. So you see some of the struggles that he had last year, and it wasn't just him. It was a lot of guys on defense who struggled last year. It was just a down year overall, and you start to think, okay, what direction is the league going? They're throwing the ball everywhere. Pat Mahomes is making something out of nothing with his receivers over there. There might be some value at that corner spot, right? When you have a corner who can lock down one side of the field, that takes a lot of pressure off of everybody. I look at Riq Woolen and I go, nah, I think after 2 years, he had a good year and an off year. Let's see what he does this year. Let's see what he does with this new coaching staff. They're going to coach him up in different ways. Maybe there's some trigger words that get him to respond in different ways. That's one thing I love about coaching and about development, is that you could be coaching the same technique, but you could describe it and say things in a different way, and it all makes sense to the player, and they execute differently. I think of it as a golf swing. Like most of the guys I play with some scratch handicaps, I play with some high handicaps, and everything in between. Everyone typically knows what the swing is supposed to look like and supposed to feel like. But every now and then, I'll play with a scratch golfer, and he'll say something to me, and my body and my mind just responds. I go, okay, that's it. That's what I need to think about and what I need to think about feeling when I'm swinging. I look at Riq Woolen, and I think the same thing. I go, let's give this coaching staff a chance. Maybe they can tap into what Riq had that first year, because it's hard when people have film on you. They know what you're good at, they know what you struggle with, and they can kind of put you in compromising situations. All right, you had your good year, you had your bad year. Now let's see what this staff can do with you.
I was going to say, I hope you don't mind me interrupting, but I want to veer into that part of your conversation. You mentioned, hey, here's, what can happen in a second year is that teams have film on you. So when you're a team, you start entering that third year going, here's what worked, here's what didn't. Why do you think we didn't see the version of Riq we were all hoping to in year 2?
Well, one, I think he started the season just on the wrong side, right? You're injured. So you come into training camp when you're available, and you might not have the confidence that you once had, because you're trusting in Riq's situation that your knee is going to hold up and you're not going to feel that little tweak. Like the way that Riq got hurt was crazy. Walking out to practice, just felt something, and boom, you tweak it. That leads me to believe that was bound to happen anyway, right? So mentally, you have to get through that. When I broke that bone in my foot, it took me a couple of weeks to even trust that I can go out there and play again, and then you get into the playing field and you're second guessing yourself. So I think mentally he started off on the wrong foot. That's tough to come back from. Even if it's just a minor procedure, you still had something done to your body, and you have to learn to trust it again. So I think that played a role into it. And then two, receivers. When I look at DBs as a receiver coach, and I'm learning their tendencies, I'll break it down to, okay, by my third step vertical, he typically takes this step, right? By my fifth step, I can get him to turn his hips. All right, he's not comfortable when I stem him this way. You start breaking down that player and you go, all right, I figured out a plan on how to beat this guy. Now, the good DBs are going to find their way out of it. They're going to get out of that dark place and be good. Then I go back to what Riq has been. He's only been a DB like three years now, right? So he hasn't lost enough battles, I feel like, to go back into that memory bank and say, okay, get back to my foundation. This is what I need to work on. So it's a bunch of things, man. It starts with the injury. It starts with teams starting to figure you out, and then it's just the mental game. So he's only been in the league 2 years. I think one more year to try to figure it out, maybe even two, because physically you don't find guys like him, right? You find 5'11s walking down the street. You don't find the 6'3s running a 4.2 walking down the street. So I think just because of his ability and the new coaching staff, he should get another year to try to figure this thing out.